Hey guys, Titan Preparedness, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is on bugging out and bug out plans. Today's video we are going to ask a bunch of questions to see if your bug out plan is a real plan or if it's just a couple steps that are missing a couple of critical pieces. Today's video is really going to be focused around the people who have the idea and the people who promote the idea of packing some stuff up and running off into the woods, who think that the woods are the safest location for you and your family. If you have a real bug out plan, going to a farm, going to a ranch, going, someplace that is secure and safe, hey, this video might not be against you. But those who have the idea and who promote the idea of running off and living out your days like Grizzly Adams in the woods, this is going to be a shot at you. So for this video, I'm going to be asking some questions and then discussing some scenarios in which you might find in a true blue bug out scenario, especially if you were going to the woods. So when I ask the question, do you have a bug out plan? Most preppers will say absolutely, of course you cannot be a prepper if you don't have a bug out plan. And without getting into too much OPSEC or operational security, I ask the question, well, what is your bug out plan? And normally it consists of two items. Number one, get a bunch of stuff, put it in a vehicle, my SUV, my truck, my van, my bug out vehicle. And number two, go to the woods. That's not a plan. If you hired me to build your house and you said, all right, man, what's the plan to build the house? And I said, gather supplies, build your house, you would fire me the first day. Let's go through some questions. Let's go through some scenarios that you would find yourself. And if you don't know how to answer these questions, or if you can't answer these questions, you might want to rethink your plan. So let's kick this video off with question number one, which is how are you getting out there? How are you getting to your bug out location? How are you getting to your bug out plan? Most people will say, well, I'm going to use my vehicle. Yeah, it makes sense, right? You use your vehicle every day. You've got a bug out vehicle for certain scenarios and situations. Use that vehicle to get to your bug out location. Perfect. But what if you can't? Right? Absolute worst case scenario, and I hate bringing it up, is an electromagnetic pulse, a CME, an EMP that wipes out your vehicle. Now, it's nothing more than a paperweight. So how are you getting out there then? If you can't use your vehicle, what is the next step? Let's bring it back to reality, right? EMPs are real far-fetched. They will probably never happen, but gridlock will happen. Your vehicle going dead will happen. Your vehicle running out of gas will happen. Somebody siphoning your gas, shooting the tires will happen. So when your vehicle goes down, how are you getting to your bug out location? Most people's bug out location starts at 20 miles away. I've seen some that go up to 50 miles. I've seen some that go halfway across the country. How are you getting to your bug out location if you can't use your vehicle? Let's say your location is 50 miles away. How long is it going to take you to walk on foot that 50 miles? I know there's a lot of people out here in the prepping community that said, man, 50 miles in a day, 2 days, no problem. From what I've seen, most people could not walk 50 miles on a flat surface in 24 hours. But you're talking about a bug out, which means you're talking about a bug out bag. And from what I've seen, most bug out bags weigh somewhere between 75 and 100 pounds. That's a small child. That's a teenager for some of us. Are you going to be able to carry a teenager 50 miles in 24 hours? The answer is absolutely not. You use your LPCs, your feet, your leather personnel carriers, your shoes. It's going to take you a week to walk that 50 miles. I've done bug out trips on this channel. My bag weighs less than that 50-pound mark. It weighs well less than that 100-pound mark. Granted, I'm climbing mountains in my videos, but on flat surface, you're looking at 10 miles in 3 to 4 hours. But again, my bag weighs 20 pounds. That bag that I hiked on the road with was like 15 pounds. It was nothing. It was an overnight bag, basically. But you're talking about a 100-pound pack. So you're going to be very limited on what you can carry. Again, your bag already weighs 100 pounds. But this is the last time you get to leave home. You're probably going to want to pack some extra stuff into it, especially if you know it's going to take you 6-7 days to get out there. You're going to pack some extra food. You're going to pack some extra ammo. So now this 100-pound pack is 125 pounds. That's 130 pounds. Do you have some sort of way of transporting this pack so you ain't got to carry it the whole time? A wagon or a cart of some sort that you can put extra gear in and extra supplies in for when you do get out there. And what happens when you do get out there, right? You've spent years building up your home with all this stuff that you had to leave. Are you going to turn around and go back for more? You get out there and you drop your bag off and you say, all right, family, y'all stay here. I'm going to take another week trip back and come back with more supplies. Do you have a bicycle? Because a bicycle with a connectable little wagon attached to it, man, that would solve a lot of your problems. Because then, right, that 50-mile journey maybe takes a day and a half, right, if you're lucky. A day and a half is a whole lot faster than a week. So you bike out there, you and your family bike out there, you set up shop, you say, all right, wife, kids, y'all stay here. I'm going to travel back and come back with rice and beans and extra bullets and extra band-aids. It's a 3-day journey. Not that bad, right? It sure beats walking. So do you have a backup resource that you can use in case your vehicle does not work? Question number 2 that I want to bring up when it comes to bugging out and bug out plans is, what are you eating when you get out there? I'm a big guy. I like to eat, right? 220 pounds. So I know my way around some food. But what are you going to eat when you get out there? Are you going to eat the food that you brought, or are you going to focus on hunting, fishing, trapping, and wild edibles? Because that determines how long you last, how much effort you have to put in things if you're going to die when winter gets here. So let me explain this one. Let's say your vehicle works. Let's say that it wasn't an EMP. You were able to load a 2-month supply into your truck and go to your bug out location, no problem. That 2 months worth of supply is easy. It's rice, it's beans, it's Mountain House meals, it's MREs. It is a very easy resource for you to go after. All you have to do is go to the back of the truck, throw it in a pot, throw it in a pan, open it up, eat it, right? You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to go out searching for it. It is there. So are you going to eat that food that you brought? Okay, that's one option, right? But what happens when you eat that food? Well, that food starts to run out. That's what happens when you eat your meals. So let's say you have 2 months of supply. It is now September, October, November. You start running out of food in the middle of winter. Now you have to focus on every day putting in the work, putting in the effort, going out hunting, fishing, trapping while it's freezing cold outside. You're going to burn more calories because it is cold. You're going to burn more calories because there's going to be less wild edibles, because there's going to be less animals because it's not spring or summer. On the flip side of that, right? Let's say you get out to your bug out location, you say, okay, this 2-month supply worth of food, we are not touching it until we can't find the deers, we can't find the squirrels, we can't find anything to eat out in the forest. Okay, that's pretty smart. So you get out there, you get first dibs on the deer, you get first dibs on the bear and the squirrels and the little furry animals. Awesome. Well, now as winter approaches, now you can eat on that 2 months worth of food, because now food is going to be harder to come by. Hunting is going to be very difficult. I know people who set up deer stands, who set up ladder stands, who set up food plots for years and still never get an animal. Trapping. If you're out there for a long enough period of time, the animals are going to know you're around. They're going to have your smell. You're not going to smell very nice. So they're going to know to stay away from all these trails that you're setting traps on. Fishing. If a river, creek, lake, pond, stream, you name it, is big enough to hold edible fish, chances are everyone knows about it. Do you know enough wild edibles to keep you satiated and keep you alive? If you can't go into the forest and name 10, 15 wild edibles that you can find in a walking distance, good luck is all I'm going to say. Because you get out there and you start reading your books and you go, yeah, this kind of looks right. Is it? Is it the right mushroom? What happens when little Johnny picks up the wrong mushroom and now he's dead? And speaking of hunting, how are you divvying up hunting? Is it going to be a very male-dominated sport like it is now? where only the dad is going to go out and do the hunting? Or are you going to give little Johnny a rifle and say, hey, shoot anything that moves? Which direction are you going to go in? North, south, east, west? Send one person in every direction. What happens when little Johnny gets lost and instead of the hunting party, now it becomes a search party because he done fell down a ravine? And while you are out hunting, let's say you do send everyone out, who is watching your stuff? Because one of the worst things that could happen, one of the most ironic things that could happen, is you're out hunting for these animals, you leave your campsite, and these animals come in and eat your food. That'd be hilarious and ironic. How far out are you setting your security perimeter? Do you have enough people to have a security perimeter? How close can you get your vehicle? Are you going to park it a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles up the road? Or are you going to leave your vehicle in the campsite? That way, in case somebody stumbles upon it, you might have a getaway vehicle. Granted, they don't get you first. These are questions that you need to ask because a security perimeter is a very important thing. Let's say your bug out location is on a very wooded, very secluded area. It is one road in, one road out. Not many people know about it. Awesome. Sounds great. When I think of bugging out to the woods, is a waterfall that is near me called Blue Hole Falls. It is one way in, one way out. It was like one of my original bug out locations, right? It's pretty cool. It was a good idea in theory, right? Nice gravel dirt road, one way in, one way out. You got to have 4-wheel drive. Leads to a nice big secluded like campsite area. And my thought was, man, this would be perfect. But looking back at it, yeah, not so much. Yes, it's one way in, one way out. But how far out am I setting up that perimeter? Because if that was still my idea, and I set my perimeter up at the beginning of the road, which most people would travel to get on that road, as a bad guy or as a person fleeing, I'm going to think, well, if there's somebody on this road, chances are they're set up on the road. It just kind of makes sense. Roads are the most traveled pathway, especially paved roads, especially roads that are already established. It is easier to walk on a road than it is to walk in the woods, but if I know that this location's here, I'm going to avoid the road. And I'm going to walk as quietly as possible in the woods and avoid the road so I can watch that road. It's just common sense. And we as preppers, avoid the roads, walk beside the roads, walk in the woods, right? We talk about it all the time. So what makes you think that if you do have a location like that, that somebody's not going to be walking around you in the woods instead of traveling the road? So again, security perimeter, 100 yards is great because you're right there with your family. You can help them out if need be. You can see everything that is affecting them. But if there is a danger, if there is a threat, it is right on top of you as well. Push that out 1,000 yards, 2,000 yards, a mile. Well, now you're further away, so you can't really help them out. And you could be looking in the wrong direction. If I'm a mile out in the wrong direction, I don't even know my family's being hit back here. The third thing I want to bring up when people talk about bugging out is where are you going to sleep? Let's say you have a pickup truck. You've got it loaded down with stuff and supplies. You're able to take it to the bug out location. You have to unload that vehicle anytime anyone wants to sleep. Maybe as soon as you get out there, you unload it and you put all your stuff throughout the wood line, and 3 people can sleep in the bed of that truck comfortably. Maybe 2 adults. So if you've got you, your wife, little Johnny Jr., right? You've got 4 or 5 people in there. Where are they going to sleep? Or maybe you have an SUV, because I've seen that be the new bug out vehicle, right? You've got an SUV, you have less room, less supplies. So if you got your SUV loaded down, are you going to sleep sitting up all night in the back seat of that SUV? Probably not. It's probably not going to be comfortable. Maybe you have a tarp, right? That's what a lot of preppers say. Nah, just throw a tarp in your bug out bag. That's good enough. Problem with tarps is they're not very secure, right? And your little furry friends that you're trying to kill throughout the night, they're going to want to crawl in that tarp with you because it's not secure at all. So you're in the woods. You're in their neighborhood. You're in their neck of the woods, literally, and they're going to try to crawl in bed with you. Now, little squirrel crawling in bed with me, not that big of a deal until he goes looking for a nut. But what about the coyotes, the foxes, all these predator-style critters that you are now in their backyard? They're going to get curious and start crawling in that tent, that tarp with you. Maybe you have a tent. Awesome, great. Tents are more secure, provide you a little bit more protection, a little bit more comfort. Tents aren't very good though. There's not a good answer, I'll be honest with you, but tents aren't the answer. Because I've seen people hiking the CDT, the AT, the PCT, right? These long distance trails with $1,000 tents, and those tents last for a week, 2 weeks, a month maybe. But you bought your tent from Walmart for 20 bucks. I bet it's not as good. I bet it's not as good as those $1,000 tents. And I'm not telling you to go buy a $1,000 tent. What I'm saying is you bought a shitty tent for your protection. So instead, your idea is that you want to put up a more permanent location, and so you build some sort of survival shelter. Okay, which one are you building? Usually, lean-to shelters are about waist high at max, because the idea of a lean-to shelter is to put it up quick, make it fast, make it secure, and really only be able to lay down in it. You use the fallen over tree as your base, you throw some wood on it, you throw some sticks on it, then you throw some leaves on it. It's not a permanent location. It is one of those that is just a couple overnights. That's about it. Problem with it is to be in it, most times you are either sitting down or you are laying down. That is it. That is all you can do. What about a teepee shelter, right? Teepee shelters, you can make them 6, 8, 10, 12 foot high. Use 3 sticks to make your base teepee, and then go around it with more sticks, right? Have you built a teepee shelter in the last 20 years? If not, and that is your idea, because it is a better shelter, because you can stand under it, you can put more people in it, you can put more supplies in there, probably want to go build that more often. Because it takes more wood, takes more effort, takes more work. Obviously, it's 10, 20 times bigger than a lean-to style shelter, so it's going to be more effort being put forth into something. And again, prepping is dominated by men in their 40s and 50s. So, the guys who lay in their $1,000 Serta mattress and complain that their neck hurts, their back hurts, their knee laid wrong, they slept wrong, so now they're down for a day or two. How are you going to prevent those pains in the woods? Not to mention, the 100-pound pack you're carrying, that's going to probably blow your back out. But hey, we're not talking about that right now. Where and how are you going to sleep? Are you going to take turns? Are you just going to sleep through the day and hope that most people move at night? Are you going to set up your security perimeter? Who's staying awake? Who's pulling that night shift while everyone else sleeps? Is it just you and the wife that are going to do this? Or are you going to throw little Johnny in there who's 8, 10, 12 years old and say, little Johnny, wake me up if somebody comes? Little Johnny's going to be scared shitless when that critter starts running through the forest. Another question I like bringing up, and another scenario I like asking, is what happens if you can't get close enough to your bug out location? You've traveled 45 miles and there's gridlock, there's trees down, there's no way possible that you can move your vehicle. Now it becomes a walking bug out situation. It's better than walking the full 50 miles, but you've still got 5 miles to go. As men, prepping is very dominated by men. And men normally want to take that goal of, okay, I'll do the most important thing that doesn't include the kids, right? It is what it is. Most times that's what it is. So in that scenario, what is the most important thing? Is it staying with the vehicle that can no longer move forward and watching the supplies because you can't carry more than what you can carry? And so you want to keep those supplies safe from marauders and bandits and people breaking in? Or is the most important thing getting the wife and kids to the bug out location and dipping the supplies where they are and just traveling with what you can carry? It's a very realistic scenario. It's a very realistic question. Sure, the most dad thing you do is go with the wife and kids and then leave them there. But you're also leaving the lifeline. You're leaving the food, the medical equipment, the extra guns, the extra ammo in that vehicle. The fifth thing that I'll like to bring up and I want to question about, how long are you staying out there? Let's say instead of 2 months worth of food in the early scenario, you brought a year's worth of food. Awesome, right? Man, dude, you're great. You've built an awesome little semi-permanent shelter. You are living the dream. How many times are you going to hear, Dad, this is boring. Dad, I don't want to be here. Dad, this sucks. Your wife going, hey, look, we're running out of all this stuff that we need other than food. We need to go back to town. We need to go back and trade. We need to have a better plan. How many times are you going to hear that? What's the end game, the end result, the end goal for bugging out? Are you going to stay out there for a month or two and then say, okay, let's travel back in town and see what we can see, and maybe it's safer, maybe the dummies have done died out? This is when I think the whole bugging out to the woods is a shitty idea. It's a stupid idea because there's no end game. There's no end goal. A lot of preppers who promote it are saying, hey, just go in the woods. Then what? Well, you're going to live out your days in the woods. Yeah, your days are going to be numbered. I promote the idea of finding the farmers, the homesteaders, these people who have land, who have resources, and then you come and join them. Or you are the guy with land and resources. And going ahead and establishing these relationships before shit happens, and then that way, it does happen, you show up there, and now you're a field hand. Right? Now you're out in the woods, or now you're out in the field tending the cattle, tending the ranch, tending the livestock and the crops. That way you can help promote and help push and help grow. Even if you find yourself in a perfect scenario in the woods, there is no growth. You're going to think everyone is against you. You're going to think everyone is an enemy, a marauder, somebody out looking to kill you. When the guys in town are establishing barter and trade, and the guys in town are growing crops for next year and sitting in the back and dehydrating and freeze drying and doing all this stuff because they found resources or they had resources, you're in the woods rubbing two sticks together. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It is a little bit lengthier, but let me know, right? When I was 17, 18 years old, I had the idea that I could survive in the woods no problem because I watched it on TV. And as I got older, I got to thinking, damn, that's kind of a terrible idea. I don't want to do it, especially now with having a wife and kids. So instead, the whole bugging out to the woods, maybe for a day or two, right? But my idea has now resorted into being that homesteader, being that farmer, being that guy who has the stuff for people who want to come in and help out. Maybe your plan is to live in the woods. And if you can answer all these questions perfectly and give me boom, 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 hey, more power to you. Maybe you say, hey man, screw this guy. He don't know what he's talking about. He's a fat prepper. He don't know survivalism from nothing. Cool, man. Go live your days in the woods. Again, they're going to be short numbered. You do you, boo-boo, right? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I think bugging out to the woods is a terrible idea. Some people might think otherwise. Let me know what you think down below. That's all we got. Y'all stay safe out there.